Saltu Q&A number 7. First question is from Leo. Having intensity issues. I play well in competitive, but autopilot in SoloQ. How do I fix this? Whenever I get asked a question around intensity issues, people playing uncharacteristically, they feel like they're just making really basic, obvious mistakes. They're playing below their skill level. They've sort of thought they had a learning objective down a couple of weeks ago, and they're just making the same mistakes again. I always say, what's your routine? What's your schedule look like? How many games are you playing of League? For me, high intensity looks like gym in the morning, pretty intensive workout, shower, into eat, pretty decent meal, into queuing up for my 3 block in the afternoon around 2 p.m. That is the best League of Legends I play. That's when my mind's most clear. I don't have all the clutter of, playing previous games and weird things happening in that game that's sort of like cloudy in my mind. That's me playing at high intensity. And whenever people ask, it's like, okay, what does playing with high intensity look like for you? For me, it's actually as simple as well. Sometimes just sitting really good posture in my chair. It's very easy as you play League to start losing your posture, and then it's like that meme when people slouch down in their chair. It could be as simple as listening to a certain song before your solo queue, but always bring it back to schedule routine. It's very unrealistic to think like, oh, I'm having intensity issues across all my games. Like, well, I play better at certain times of the day. By like 7 or 8 o'clock, I wake up very early at 6 a.m. I don't really play League at that time because I just know that I'm not going to be playing at my best. So intensity issues, think about your schedule. Think about when you've played really well in the past. What did your routine look like? It's very hard to have high intensity in League when you just watching YouTube, you're on Discord with friends, and then you're jumping in solo queue. Like, you're just not in that mindset. It's like, how do I win the game? What's the next? How do I kill the Nexus? What's the next objective? Like, all these things tick in your mind. Base, resets, how much gold's in my inventory? What's my jungle path here? What's the win condition? It's really easy to just get really sloppy. I see it all the time, just for tracking where the enemy jungler starts. Everyone knows to do it in SoloQ. I tell every time, but people occasionally bring VODs to me, and then we just, to start the review, it's like, okay, you didn't ping where the enemy jungler started. And they're like, yeah, I forgot. It means you weren't playing with high intensity. The second part of this question is, so he feels like he plays well in competitive, but autopilots in SoloQ. So I always get scared when I hear this, because the first thing that I see here is there's a lack of respect for SoloQ here. Especially when players, so I have great context here because I work with Leo on a daily, weekly basis, and he's sort of plateaued in terms of the master diamond sort of, he bumps in and out. And I find when, especially around this rank, when people sort of hit that plateau, they find comfort in competitive, and that allows them to fuel the narrative that SoloQ, you don't learn in SoloQ, you don't learn macro in SoloQ. It's a different sort of skill set, competitive, but SoloQ is the game of League of Legends, and you must respect it. It is the best way to climb in SoloQ, is into improving the game from SoloQ. There's many examples of players that have dominated SoloQ, and then they are able to transition to competitive and instantly be a top player with almost no competitive experience. If you play competitive, if you enjoy competitive, sure. But in general, SoloQ is the best way to climb, and you must respect SoloQ. Do not fall for the whole SoloQ is a waste of time. People just AFK troll. Over the long run, SoloQ is the best place to improve in League of Legends. So that's the first angle I want to sort of take there is, do we just have a lack of respect for SoloQ? And the other thing I sort of want to mention here as well is, are you confusing, what does playing well and competitive mean? Does it mean winning? It's very easy to get those two confused, playing well and winning. Maybe you're just versing much worse opponents, or you're just, thriving in some certain meta in terms of your playstyle. So those are some things to think about. I would bring it back to the, if you're just having general intensity issues, what does your schedule look like? What does routine look like? And you just have to start with that 3 games. You don't have to think about having intensity for like 10 games in a row. That's pretty unrealistic in League. It's going to fluctuate. So that's it for that question. Next question here is from Calvin. Any tips to refocus? I feel like I've been playing with so much brain fog, low intensity, just not good all around. I'm following the process, but I feel like I'm just playing unfocused. doing cold showers, eating right, and gym 2. Okay, so this is sort of ties into the last question. I mean, there could be an element. I mean, I don't know what's going on in, Calvin's real life, but you might just have a lot of other things in your mind or some other stresses. I mean, ideally when I'm playing League, going back to when I'm playing at my best and when I'm sort of free from, real life responsibilities is just, again, I'm in that routine because my brain knows it's like, I'm going to be playing League after I gym, shower, eat. That's just what I do. That's my routine, and my body's and brain's adapted to that. So my brain's like, okay, I got to have high intensity this time of the day because Nathan does that every single time, every day. So again, thinking about schedule, but he says he's following the process, but just feeling unfocused, doing cold showers, eating right, and gym 2. So he's doing some pretty good things there as well. I would say come back to like, why are you playing League? What's your goal? Maybe you're just not that excited. You're just playing, you're just in the rut of it. You're just like playing League to play League. Focus is something I probably should do some bit more research in. Just in general for like other activities, but I know Calvin doesn't play that much, so yeah, it's probably a bit of a frustrating problem to have, and this is something I'll probably have to work with Calvin a bit more on. But yeah, I'd say my approach to this question is thinking about your goal. What's your goal? Get excited about your goal, and for Calvin, I believe it's Master. Let's get that first, get excited about it, process the journey, embracing that we're currently a diamond player, and then chip away at things, learning objectives, and yeah, that's the way that I would approach this. Next question is from Johnny. So you've taken Baron after winning a team fight, and it's not super late in the game. No dragon is up. All 5 members of your team reset, and all your camps are up. Should you take those camps before rejoining your team in pushing with Baron buff, or should you take them as a team, or should you rush to get Baron value? That's a good question. So the first question I'll ask is golden inventory. So if you're really close to like a huge item spike, sure, your team will reset. You sort of unsync your base with your team to take like 2 camps. I mean, it depends how many camps you have to take. I mean, ideally, the best case scenario with a Baron is you've cleared all your camps. It's not always possible. You sort of need to adapt to your team. You sort of need to know what the pace of the game is like. I'd say the key thing here is thinking about your gold and also what are your teammates going to do, And it's not hard to just quickly communicate with your team like, hey guys, I just need to do some camps for an item. And sometimes camps actually might be pointless because, you want to keep up the pressure and, you don't really get a key item for you and you want to go straight into their jungle and invade and take their camps and pressure. So it's pretty situational. Being that early in the game as well, I'd say that with that Baron at max, you're going to get 1 inhibitor. So, you can sort of take your time a bit more of, set it up correctly. The 2 lanes that you want to pressure. So that's why I would approach this question is think about what your teammates are doing. What do they want to do? What's the pace of the game? And communicate if you need to take your camps to get an item. Remember, always thinking about you taking your jungle camps is like, what's the purpose of it? You don't just clear for the sake of clearing, especially when at this stage of the game where it's like, okay, we want to win the game, let's pressure. Don't think about your jungle camps as well. Think about their jungle camps or the side of the map that you want to pressure with the Baron. All right, next question here is from Clayton. Do you typically want to prioritize early pathing towards your win con or to your lanes that will have early priority? So ideally, these two are similar. Typically, the lane that has priority is generally your win con as well, because if you're pathing to them and they're pushed up, that's great, because if the enemy jungler paths towards there, then that's a free opportunity for you to double crab or counter gank, right? So usually they're both the same thing. But yeah, you can just assess, and remember, you can always adapt your path as well. To, if let's say if it's all going to depend on where the enemy jungler starts for first. And a great question for you to ask is, do I win the 2v2? Okay, if X is pathing here, and these are the champs that I have on the top side of my map, then do we win the 2v2? Looking at summoner spells like Ignite and all that. So let's look at some examples. It's always best to look at some examples. So this is these are just some from reviews we did today in our gold and platinum session. So looking at the Hecarim perspective, this was Philip's Hecarim. I remember we did this review. He actually decided to path bot, but I suggested this game. Okay, well, this is gold. We know that the enemy Rammus, gold junglers always start bot side. 99% of the time from experience. And unless there's certain champions like Shaco, Kayn, and maybe like an Ivan or something. Let's match. Let's start blue and just match the Rammus because, you know, we're going to hard win 2v2. Against a Rammus, I mean, we're Conqueror Hecarim with Ghost. Like, Rammus clears incredibly slowly as well. So, if Rammus pass up to this side, so sorry, I should say Hecarim is here and then Rammus is here because he's on red side. So, Rammus is going to path towards the top side of the map. We path top side. We could literally do a full clear, and then I bet we could even still invade Rammus here because he'll clear super slowly, or look to fight 2v2. We also have an Aurelion Soul who can easily move. Like, it's just going to give you so many options this game to just match the Rammus, and Rammus is very, very weak early. And we have 2 Conqueror champs. We are going to obliterate them. So that's an example of, like, more so, not so much pathing towards WinCon or anything. Like, it's more so thinking about the jungle matchup more so this game. And just how easy we win 2v2 and knowing that gold junglers will start bot side and Rammus will want a leash. Next one here is an Eve. So Eve's on blue side this game. So let's say Eve is here and Master Yi is here. So thinking about, okay, if we're Eve and we match the Master Yi, let's say he starts blue. Do we win 2v2 top? Wukong does have a combat spell. Wukong's generally like to trade pretty aggressively early, especially with Ignite. That might be a little bit scary to path top here. We might not have priority. We do have a Qiyana mid, which maybe gives us some potential tool in terms of fighting. I think this game, I reckon you could start red, see what's going on top, and there is a Karma bot lane and Twitch support. I would think that would have potentially priority bot. I think starting red here is fine because Yi's pretty useless early game. I think Eve with Charm can actually do some pretty good work, even though Eve is traditionally known as a pretty weak early jungler. Master Yi is just very weak early, so as well. So yeah, I'll say match here, assess what's going on, and we could just loop back down to bot crab if we need to. So this is a situation where it's a bit more adaptive. Again, we're thinking a bit more about the jungle matchup here. Where they start. This next one here is a Nocturne into Nunu, and we have a Mordekaiser into Yorick. I'd say Nocturne. So where Nocturne's the red side here, and then Nunu is blue side. Sort of same situation here. I'll just match the Nunu because again, Nunu. This is Dark Harvest Nunu as well, so he's not going to be able to get away with Phase Rush. I think that we win 2v2 top side as well. Nocturne's pretty good. Nunu sometimes as well doesn't really play for the fight. He'll just try and one-shot the crab. But again, this is a game where I'll just match the Nunu path in top side, and then we can fight. And if, let's say Nunu starts blue, then maybe we can do a reverse clear and go bot and look to 2v2 bot. I think we could do that. Again, really heavily on where the enemy jungler starts. But like gold to like plat 4, the enemy jungler starts bot side in most of the games. So you can sort of path accordingly. So those are some examples there. So sort of to answer your question there, I guess, is think about the jungle matchup. Think about if you win the 2v2 or whatever. But and it also depends on what champ you're playing as well. You know, let's say if you're playing like a really early pressure jungle like Jarvan, Elise, all that sort of stuff. Just get in, you know, sometimes not thinking about the jungle matchup. Just go into a lane. Let's say it's a Draven, Morgana lane bot side or something, or Caitlyn Thresh lane. Just go straight there and look for a dive, like against a Yuumi, and don't think about the jungle matchup. So it's very specific. You sort of need to experiment. There's no one rule, Clayton. So, and you are gold, since I know you're gold because the yellow thing there. Always just assessing your game plan. Enemy jungler starts bot. What does it look like if I match them? Next question is from Jake. Are there any strong early game AP junglers aside from Elise, including off meta? I feel like I just don't have the same agency as AD junglers. So Echo has picked up a lot of recent. He's got buffed a little bit in the meta. I think Fiddlesticks is a champ that you might need to put a lot of time into, but possible. I think Fiddlesticks is all around a pretty great SoloQ pick. What else we got? Talia, I think, dropped off a bit. Yeah, I wouldn't really recommend Talia. Well, I have some clients in Saltu. I have one guy who's a Lilia main. He's like Grandmaster 500 LP. Josh. I think Lilia is good as well. So these are some some potential picks. These are more like scaling picks. Those are the things that can come on top of my mind. Yeah, I don't really verse AP junglers that much. I mean, a lot of it's just like the Lee Sin, Jarvan, Kindred I played a lot recently against. So those are some picks for you, Drake. Drake, I am scared we're getting to the whole champ pool crisis thing. Let's talk about it. Let's focus on fundamentals, jungle fundamentals, champ mastery. Let's choose something. Next question is from Alex. How do you play against Kayn? So this is what I'll call a pretty lazy question. And what I do with these lazy questions, I sort of like bring it back to them. I sort of be like, okay, well, Alex, Alex is master tier. What's Kayn's weaknesses? Can then break it down further for, blue and red Kayn potentially. And then he said his first clear is kind of slow. Early game isn't great. Great. One way you can think about Kayn is potentially looking for an invader. It depends what champion you're playing. This is very situational. This is why I think these are very lazy questions, because they're just not specific enough. You need to really look at specific questions. It's just not going to be helpful at all. It's like, okay, invade. It's like, okay, we'll get specific. How does the invade look? What champion am I playing? Am I going to have to 3-camp invade? What lanes will I have priority in lanes here? Don't tunnel too much on the jungle matchup itself. I know obviously we just went over some examples talking about thinking a lot about the 2v2 topside and stuff and all that sort of stuff. And that's something to account for, but just play the game, with Kayn, play with jungle fundamentals, play with lane priority. Jungle is a bit of a luxury because you're not in the lane versing laners, and it's like an obvious counter matchup. You're interacting with them all the time. Versus Kayn, I'm like, okay, Kayn's going to be a bit annoying, especially if it's a red Kayn to a certain team comp and blue Kayn, but, he's very weak early until he gets form. You could play for Dragon Soul objective. You can do a lot on the map. Play towards win condition. Sometimes you can just ignore Kayn and just play the map, and your laners will be so strong Kayn can't deal with them anyway. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of this question, Alex. I'm sort of calling you out a bit for this, but need to get specific. And yeah, I mean, it's simple. He's pretty weak early. We can capitalize on that, but again, depends what champ we're playing. Depends what champs are in the game, and depends if it's blue or red Kayn. Another question from Clayton. I'm actually having a difficulty time deciding which champs I want to dedicate time playing to achieve champion mastery. Now I'm lost on what I actually want to play. I've been playing the games this season to a many different roles, which makes it hard to choose a pool of 3 champs. Any advice on how I should determine my champ pool in the most recent Broken by Concept episode? That's my podcast with Curtis. You can type that up. It's YouTube. There was a conversation about champions who will always be decent regardless of meta. Should I pick champions like that? Clayton, since we're gold, let's just pick a somewhat good meta jungler. Not playing like some random thing like Galio jungle or something. Just like, I wouldn't say meta. Just choose one champ. Let's just start with one champ, Clayton, to build a pool. 3 champs is way too much for you. At max 2 champs. Let's start with one champ and just think about what champion do we enjoy, Clayton? You've played a lot of champs. You've played since season 2. What champion do you have curiosity? It's like, what does champ mastery look like on this champ? Champ pool questions always get very messy, and I see players just go on this circus of just, oh no, I lose a couple of games here, like, oh, this champ sucks, or like, this champ's just too good in the meta, especially since we're gold, we're sort of learning the game. Learn the game through the lens of one single champion, and then once we get high elo, then we can start maybe looking to expand our pool. So what champion do you enjoy, Clayton? And let's go out on that champ mastery. Next question is from Judah. I play a lot of Master Yi. I play him crit lethality. I see his champ identity during lane phase is one who thrives in chaotic skirmishes. Looks for low HP enemies for ganks and focuses on dives. I would like to know your thoughts and opinions on his champ identity, how he should be played, and what his place is throughout a match. I don't think we've done a single review of Master Yi in the Saltu, so I don't really have experience coaching Master Yi players at all. From playing against Master Yi, I mean, again, I can't remember the last time I played against it. He's actually very weak early. He loses a lot of jungle matchups. So I don't know about the during laning phase. I guess that's early game. Chaotic skirmishes. Looking for low HP enemies for ganks. I mean, that's pretty much any champion, right? Focus on dives. Yeah, I guess you could dive. Ye's sort of just I mean, his ganks are so weak, right? Just farm up and scale, really, and just like fight 1v5. That's really it. I can't really help you with that one, Judah, because I don't really play Master Yi myself. But I always don't recommend players to play Master Yi. Just as learning the jungle. We do talk about Champ Master and playing a champ you love, but in general, he just doesn't require jungle fundamentals to play optimally, which always creates very bad habits. And when people play these type of champs and they join Saltu, I need to like undo all these bad habits that they have, and it's unbelievably hard and it takes months. So it's very scary, something to consider, Judah. Next question is from Paul with a real question. I've recently kind of come to the conclusion that I don't really have a goal anymore, or at least not a super defined one. My goal is default, but the conversation here made me think about the fact that if I hit that, I don't want to quit. So my goal is just continual improvement. Is it okay to not have a concrete goal in my professional life? Being able to define a goal as a key competency and not having it to be as clear feels weird, but at the same time almost feels like natural progression of the improvement mindset. Yeah, I mean, you've got to have a goal. I mean, you don't want to focus on the LP and the rank, and you have to be excited about the improvement and the journey, yes, but you sort of still want to have that North Star. It's like, what am I doing? Where am I going? Why do I play League? So, and when you hit Diamond 4, you're not going to quit, Paul. Trust me. Even if you hit it, you'll be like, okay, well, then what's the next challenge? I hit that goal. What's the next exciting thing, Maybe it's just maybe you just want to sort of see where you go and be like, okay, I'm just a Diamond 4 player now. It's like, let's just have a crack. Let's just see how we're going. Maybe we can get to Diamond 2. But I feel like you'd set the next goal. It's like, okay, Diamond 1, Master Tier. And that's sort of a long-term goal you can look to achieve. See, I don't know. I mean, I've always had a goal. Like, my goal is to play really good League of Legends, and the rank follows. But at the end of the day, I'm still like chasing. Like, I want to get challenge, or I want to get 1,000 LP, or top 10 on my server. But at the end of the day, I realize that the goals sort of, that's like the North Star. But then you need to break down. Okay, how am I going to get there? I'm gonna have to have a good solid champ pool. I'm gonna have to have good champ mastery. I'm gonna have to have play with high intensity. I'm going to have to adapt to chaos in SoloQ. So I think we should really, get to that default. Don't be afraid of success. This is sort of like a question like afraid of success. It's like, okay, well, let's get it, and then we can go to the next step after that. All right, that's it for the Q&A number 7 here, guys. Hopefully this was helpful. I will see you guys in my next video.